In today's world, the status of states and their capabilities are no longer determined solely by military power, but also by their competitive potential in sports, in economic fields, as well as in sphere of space exploration. That has witnessed intense competition, particularly since the end of the Second World War between the United States and the Soviet Union. A few weeks ago, the United States National Aeronautic and Space Administration, NASA, launched a new mission nearly 50 years after it sent 4 astronauts to explore the far and dark side of the moon, as well as its geological composition. This mission, named Artemis II, didn't involve a lunar landing, unlike what Neil Armstrong accomplished half a century ago, when he didn't merely take a few steps on the moon's surface, but planted the American flag and returned with samples of lunar rocks. In the early 1990s, I had the opportunity to meet Neil Armstrong within the framework of the Academy of the Kingdom of Morocco, of which he had become a member. We exchanged views during a presentation I delivered before the Academy on the rights of humanitarian intervention and its justifications. When the Academy later planned to organize an international conference on the issue of Jerusalem, we happened to take the same flight, with his wife accompanying him. Our conversation lasted for nearly 5 hours and expanded beyond space exploration to include his mission in Apollo 11. It also touched upon the potential role of the United States in bridging the gap between the developed world and the global south, as well as the duty of assistance for development, an effort that should resemble the Marshall Plan, through which the United States contributed to Europe's recovery after the end of World War II. Neil Armstrong's account of the journey was captivating and inspiring in every respect. I recall in particular our visit to the Dead Sea, where we swam and floated on its surface. He explained that the phenomenon of weightlessness experienced here is entirely similar to what happened on the moon, where bodies effectively lose their gravitational weight. Before the end of the trip, I had been invited to attend the wedding of one of his sons in the state of Ohio. However, I was unable to do so because I was in charge of mass obligations in the university, in particular supervising the examinations. We later met again on the sidelines of another academic event attended by General Walter, former commander of U.S. forces. Then our discussion revolved around the contrast between a man who had walked on the moon and another who had once been the commander of one of the world's most powerful armies. I also recall that before departing, he asked me whether I had children. I replied that I had a daughter who was about 10 years old. He then requested my personal address, and about 2 weeks later, I received an autographed picture in his astronaut suit dedicated to my daughter and signed by him with his best wishes. Neil Armstrong passed away approximately, I think, 14 years ago. Today, however, competition in space exploration is once again intensifying. NASA, for example, has announced its intention to send unmanned spacecraft to the moon by 2028, while China appears that a new competitor having the ambition to land as astronauts on the moon by 2030. If the Earth has become more accessible and interconnected for all, outer space has grown even more vast and open. Yet, the international community has since 1970 endorsed a treaty stipulating that the moon, celestial bodies, and outer space are not the property of any nation, but rather constitute a shared heritage available to all humanity.